Our first speaker this evening is Jim Powers. Jim is a researcher at University of Illinois College of Medicine at Rockford. Jim's information tonight will focus specifically on substance use in our community. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Jim Powers to you.
One topic that surfaced as a major issue throughout the data collection process was teen substance use and abuse in the Oak Park River Forest community. One of the things that we took a look at in the community profile, as you may or may not be aware, there was a map study that was done back in 2006 by the Oak Park Health Department. Very extensive study. And one of the top priorities that was noted in 2006, 4 years ago, was teen alcohol, drug, and substance abuse. Subcommittees were formed. That was a priority. I mention that because I think it speaks to the point that Attila was mentioned earlier, and that is the importance of a sustained, ongoing emphasis that it really takes to deal with a very pervasive community problem. What we tried to build on beyond that study and drawing together was some data that is from the Illinois Youth Survey, which is a comprehensive survey that is given, to almost every high school, in the state, and students actually fill this out, and it's very extensive, ask questions about violence, ask questions about many different aspects. I want to share part of that with you. I wanted to ask Joe if he couldn't put the graphic up here that I want to share with you and highlight some things along the way. You're going to have to do an imaginary red laser that I'm holding here in my right hand. So I'm going to talk you through with my imaginary laser in terms of some of the statistics here. As you can see, what we've tried to do is to take a look at the last 3 times that the survey has been given. The survey is done by Chestnut, an organization down in Bloomington with great credibility and an extensive history of doing both treatment and research. And they are very well thought of. They do a very good process. You'll see in terms of 2006, 2008, and then 2010. And what we tried to do is to take a look at, sort of suburban Cook County, Oak Park River Forest, the nation, and the state of Illinois. And each of those. What I would like you to draw out of this diagram, first of all, is you'll see the NA up there for Oak Park and River Forest in terms of the 6th and the 8th grade. That's to let you know that Oak Park River Forest, in terms of its middle schools, does not participate as most schools do, throughout the state of Illinois, which in terms from a research perspective leads some incredible gaps when you're trying to do prevention, you're trying to take a look at different programs along the way. So certainly a consideration. The other things I'd like to highlight as you look there, in terms of the first area, which is binge drinking. Binge drinking defined as drinking 5 drinks at one time. And in terms of looking at 2008 and 2010, we put 2006 up there so you could at least see the sustained difference between Oak Park and River Forest and the other entities, where Oak Park and River Forest are coasting much higher in their percentages than other communities, as well as the nation, as well as the state of Illinois. In terms of binge drinking, in terms of 2008, I see an arrow up there, okay. In terms of 2008, looking at going to Oak Park River Forest, where there's 37% percentage, and then you look at 2010, it's gone up to 39%. So almost 40% in terms of a binge drinking within the past 2 weeks. If you compare that with the other figures, and we're doing just 12th grade for tonight, you look at 24 and 29% for the US and Illinois, and then looking at 18.9%. Again, Oak Park River Forest coasting higher, in fact, substantially higher. Looking at alcohol use in the past month has gone from 57% in 2008 to 59%, again coasting above the other 3 comparisons. Using inhalants, slight decrease, 4% to 3%, but again, coasting higher than the other ones. And then if we can lift the visual up just a bit, which I can't do with my hand. Try the other hand. Okay, I'll try both hands. Okay, we're going to draw on your imaginations along the way in terms of the use of marijuana. And basically in terms of marijuana, okay, both hands finally work. In terms of looking at it from 33% in terms of marijuana use in the past month to 41% in 2010. But then if you look at the comparison with the others, coasting almost twice as high as the other comparison figures. To me, I think that says very powerfully that Oak Park River Forest is coasting much higher in terms of its usage of drugs and alcohol. Therefore, in terms of the particular data, when we talk about impact, that is the impact that at least I'd like to share with you. Many other dimensions to the Illinois Youth Survey, but that's what we wanted to share tonight. In terms of the actual impact, one needs to take a look at what we call the risk behaviors. It's not just the drinking of alcohol, the smoking of marijuana, but it has to do with what happens once you do smoke or drink. Almost 1 in 4 12th graders, 1 in 5 10th graders have been drunk or high at high school. More than 4 in 10 12th graders, almost 50%, have ridden in a car with a teenager who's been drinking or using drugs. And almost 1 out of 4, 25%, have driven a car after drinking alcohol. Again, some pretty high-risk kinds of behavior. Again, talking about the correlates in terms of the impact, in terms of driving a car, driving with someone who's been drinking, unplanned sexual activity, pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, the correlation between low academic achievement, also in terms of binge drinking, and that being a pretty good indicator in terms of many cases of adult alcoholism, and also in terms of eventually involvement, with police departments along the way. In terms of other parts of the study, just to briefly share those with you, in terms of the key informants part of the study, where we did the 27 key informants, youth substance abuse was one of the major areas. Key finding, many key informants observed that living in a community that desires to present a very positive picture of individual, family, and school functioning makes recognition and solution of problems such as youth substance abuse very difficult. They perceive adolescent alcohol and drug-related behaviors as often going unreported in the schools and the community. In fact, the consensus was it's not only tolerated, accepted, but also celebrated as a rite of passage. And that makes it a very difficult kind of problem to address. Again, talked about the collaborative system of care that is is needed in order to address the issue. In terms of the focus groups, the emphasis was on the education that is needed about the real effects of alcohol, not only about the disease, but also about the risk behaviors and the collateral damage that I was talking about. And finally, to talk about one focus group in particular, and that was the teen focus group that I did just back about 2 weeks ago here at the high school, in which there was a very positive picture of the special services that are provided in terms of assisting students with emotional issues and with their issues with substance use and abuse. And then finally, the prevalence, and what students said about the prevalence of drug and alcohol availability at Oak Park River Forest High School was absolutely incredible. They said everyone knows someone who can get it easily, and they can get the drugs and alcohol anytime, any place, anywhere that they want it. So what I would like you to take away is the need for sustained efforts, the fact that Oak Park River Forest, in terms of the incidents coasting significantly higher, the impact in terms of the risk behaviors, and finally in terms of the prevalence of the problem. So thank you for your attention tonight.